This is a computer that was brought to me by RestoMod, and he reinstalled Windows, but nothing worked. And, well, those of you guys remember back in the Windows 98 days, it was a bit of a manual job to find and load drivers. Well, what started off as, can you please load drivers for me, has somewhat turned into a bit of a monster. What's inside this wonderful Windows 98 box? As you can see, it's a ASA motherboard, which I believe was one of those off-brands, with a actual Intel chipset. It's got 64 megabytes, PC 100. It has a Sound Blaster Live PCI sound card, a 4 megabyte Trident card, and a D-Link 10100 network card. For the hard drive, it is a Western Digital, it's the old yellow label, the Western Digital 30 gig, which this was an upgrade, and I know the sound card was an upgrade much later after, with a, a 24X, I believe, IDE CD-ROM. And I believe this power supply is a 240. I haven't pulled it out and looked at the label, but the label's kind of yellowing. So that is what it comes with. Looks like it was fairly well maintained. I mean, there's a couple of kind of random cables, and the IDE cables, you know, they try to dress it up pretty well. But as it was brought to me, and as I was looking at it, I thought, you know what? It'd be nice to do a few things. So what turned into a driver update has turned into a project. So one of the first things I came up with, and this is something we're going to do, with it being an older system and it's only got a 30 gig, the first thing I thought of was we should do a compact flash to IDE. So I got both types here. We're gonna figure out which one works best in the case. I'm currently thinking of going this one so we can completely eliminate IDE cable in the case just to clean up the insides a little bit. But this one, being able to grab it from the back, I kind of like the idea too. So I'm playing with the idea, and being as it has a 30 gig, I figured a 32 gig SanDisk would probably do it well. And for those of you who are curious, this thing will do 120 megabytes a second, and I believe, if I remember correctly, the fastest the IDE bus on this computer will do is like 33 or 66 megabytes a second. So regardless, this compact flash is going to be bored. A 16 megabyte dual monitor Matrox card. And one of the main reasons we're going to go with this card is A, they were really cost effective. It would be a considerable increase in performance than the card that was in it. And as much as I would like to throw a Voodoo card in here, people have those at ridiculous prices currently. So here we go. Matrox card for the win. So on the next docket was, I came across something else, a nice little eBay find. And it's not something that normal people do, but it does have a Sound Blaster Live sound card. But I wanted to do something. We've got some ISA slots down there that we're just not quite using, so I got the next upgrade is going to be a Card D Plus digital audio, or it's a digital audio Card D Plus ISA professional sound card. Yeah, this was a studio broadcast level sound card with RCA, gold-plated RCA outputs, and underneath here is the digital I/O add-on card. So yeah, we're gonna have some professional level audio quality coming out of this 98 box. Why? Because we can. So for the final trick, I got him this. And what this is it's a 24 pin or a 20 pin to AT style motherboard connector. It's basically the 2-port 6-pin with the adapter pins that go to the go to the front of the case, so we can run modern current power supplies in a retro computer. And the main reason I'm doing this is I am not going to have this go out of here running on a questionable power supply. I don't care how good it was. The label is yellowed. I can't do it. So yeah, it's going to leave out of here with, this isn't a new power supply. It's one of my bench power supplies, but this will get him by and is significantly newer and more reliable than that. On top of that, he can go out and we'll be able to purchase a standard power supply from anywhere and put it in this case. So yeah, we're all said and done. This thing's gonna rock. All right, first things first, we're gonna have to go through and I want to sort a lot of these cables. Like there's a lot of this they just horribly zip tied, and there's actually, back in the day, sounds pretty bad me saying that, isn't it? Many moons ago, we had different ways. Those of us who like gave a crap, we didn't zip tie them up like this. We actually had a different method. I'm also going to start moving all these cards, like this Sound Blaster Live that was added at a much later date. I'm still debating on if this is going to go back in. It might, because it does have a game port, but we'll see. But yeah, all the rest of it's got to come out. Discs have been made too, and yeah, power supply's got to come out, and I got to clean up that cabling, and I'm going to try to figure out, I am going to move the CD-ROM down for a specific reason, and it'll make sense when I'm done. But yeah, let's start making sense of this. Alright, so it's official. You know when you're working on a retro computer when it draws blood, or draws first blood, so yep. Barely into the cable management cleanup, and yeah, it's already got me. She's a fighter. But it's coming along nicely. She's going to fight me, but I'm going to win. Alright, power supply is out, and we have a 280 watt. Get a little better angle. So yeah, she has been there a long time, but with this build I am not leaving this one in. I mean, if he wants to send it off and have someone go through it, that's fine. I would highly recommend that, just to keep this original power supply going. But it has shown, it's pretty dirty inside, so it's time to replace it. We're going to go something a little bit more modern, more reliable. Alright, first cable mod is done, and this is literally what a bunch of us used to do when the manufacturer just gave a bunch of strangled cable. Where do you think braided cable come from? Came from the modders. So yeah, we would braid these together, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Actually, mine's not really, it's really bad. I braided it. I'm glad I don't do my daughter's hair, but yeah. And what's going to happen is I'm going to tuck it in, it's going to come down, and it's going to lay down, and the bulk of it's going to stay in the front here, and you're just going to have a small section of cable right here. This cable, when it's all said and done, is going to come straight up, and I'm going to hide the power cord for the fan is actually going to hide up here. So it's going to clean up a lot of the cabling down there. So yeah, little retro cable modding. And if you ever wonder where companies, manufacturers got it from? The modders. Yeah, how to clean up your wires, and all those wires are looking nice and tidy. So there you go, little retro computer cable cleanup. And it's not so much for airflow. It's like if you need to get your hands in here and work on it again, you're not fighting around a bunch of cables. I gotta get the other cables in here and work on those, but progress. All right, starting to get everything back in. Got the front back on, got the CD-ROM moved on, but, all right, you people that are designing these, can you please actually try and fit them into a computer before you sell them? Look at this. This is like super tight. You have to bend it over. Like, would it have been so difficult to add 2 inches of cable to these? Like, actually try using them before you sell them. Other than that, it's there. I mean, it's a lot tighter than I would like it to be. I'm not comfortable with that. I may have to make up some extension cable and try to extend that out a little bit, because this is just janky. But, all right. Anyway, so far so good. Progress. And if you're curious on if a modern power supply will even fit in a retro case, yeah, actually quite well. Alright, here's where we're at now. This doesn't look as pretty as it could be, but it's actually tucked up in there. When you look at it like this, it's pretty clean. So, the IDE compact flash adapter is installed. I went for this one because the point is once this is all said and done, it's not going to be as easy to take off. These lids suck. Anybody knows these old computers, this old U-shaped design was cheap, easy, and a hateful design by the case manufacturers. We lived with that for too many years. But besides that, it's too much of a pain in the butt to get the lid off of this thing. So we're going with the compact flash adapter plugged into here, and I have the ribbon cable kind of cleaned up as best I can. I've got the ID, or the power for the CPU fan, tucked up, kind of cleaned up inside. I had to use one of my adapters for the floppy, because modern power supplies only come with these little mini Molecs. Only come with one, and that's the one that has on the power supply is routed to here. All these are cleaned up nicely. This is for the CD-ROM. It comes up, tucks under. This is a cable I found in my little in one of my bags. The original floppy cable's right here, and it's this dual one, and it's just this gnarly, long, irritating garbage. So this is actually, it's an OEM cable that came out of a motherboard many, many years ago, and it's been sitting in my supply. So I went ahead and ran that for his floppy. So he's got a nice sleeved cable for the floppy, which is helping to clean things up nicely. So yeah, we are about ready to start throwing cards in here. Progress! Alright, so this is the 4 megabyte, and yes, it is a 4 megabyte S3 Verge Thunder. Feel the thunder. Alright. This is going bye-bye, because what we're going to replace it with is new hotness. Well, I really wanted to get him a Voodoo card, but man, those people want way too much for him. It's kind of been a popular thing. And this will get him something a little bit better, because he's actually got a touchscreen that was designed for Windows 2000, Windows 98 with serial control. So this, you'll notice the multi-pin is going to be a dual monitor Windows 98 box. All right, power supply is on. That's noisy. Well, look at that. Well, we're looking good so far. That is literally the floppy making all that noise. Or is that the CD-ROM? That's the CD-ROM. The CD-ROM is bad. Oh, I need the CD-ROM. All right, we just hit another snag. Yay. All right, decided to take the ROM out. I took one screw out, and then I heard this. The screw's over here. So, I don't know if you can hear that, but there's something rattling inside. I'm fearing at this point broken plastic. So, let's find out. Alright, so I decided to take this thing apart, and look what I find inside. It's kind of hard to see, but what that is you have, this is the gear set that not only extends the tray out, but it's also, when it comes over, it pops the motor up to spin the disc. And when you eject, it pops down, and then the motor spins it out. Alright, so problem is there's the first gear. This is the other one that engages these two. Okay. But it's missing on the motor, which is right here. Let's see if it fixed it. Alright, ROM is back in. Now that I have it repaired, do I have it? Alright, so power it back on. See what happens. That sounds a lot better. Not the best sounding, but all right. Got my OS disk in there. Let's see if this thing will read. Booyah! CD-ROM fixed. Alright, after fighting with compact flash formatting, ta-da! We're there. It actually goes pretty quick. Not too shabby for a Pentium 200. That sounds like a small vacuum cleaner. Alright, I am noticing these lines here, and I don't think it's the monitor. It just might happen to be the graphics card, which, just to make sure, I actually purchased 2 of them. I'll even move the card to a different PCI slot and see if that helps, but yeah. Progress. Windows just got better. I have loaded the drivers for the Matrox card, and the funky like refresh lines or whatever they were are gone. And I did notice they weren't happening in DOS, so I'm assuming it was just some funky resolution. Now you can see it's getting kind of late out. So I have sat here and fought with the drivers and our Q settings. I cannot get an ounce of sound out of the sound card, so therefore we're going back to ye old Sound Blaster. Sound card's in, video card's moved. Do we get sound? Alright, early morning, and it's like 7 in the morning. Next day, and I'm still fighting with this. I cannot get sound out, so I'm going to pull out the Creative Labs. I actually happen to have here, this was for another project, but it's an Echo Mia MIDI professional sound card. Balanced audio in and out. So I'm going to install that and see if that gets audio. Because here's the thing. Drivers load fine, everything works fine, but I'm getting absolutely no sound out. And Windows even shows that, like, the little volume bar will show their sound. Just no audio is getting to speakers, and I plugged in my headphones. Nothing. The troubleshooting. Got the Echo Meet. Actually, I have both sound cards in, but I have Windows routed to, I'll show you this, to the virtual out. And guess what happens when you have, yeah. Sound Blaster Live is bad. And all the drivers work. I believe it's just the probably op out, so yeah. Unfortunately, he's got a dead sound card. But got things going, so alright, moving on. That network card is a Realtek that I had laying around because unfortunately not only did his sound card die or is dead, the drivers would not load correctly no matter what driver I found for this Realtek card. I have a feeling something happened in this system, and I'm glad I got rid of that power supply. Then it kind of nuked a few things. I'm completely amazed that expansion cards went, but the motherboard survived for whatever happened. Don't know, but she's up and running, and of course I went full on retro themes and
should have known those alien maggots booby-trapped the sub.
Alright, so just to do a little recap. This was a sound card. Can't get it to work at all. No audio output at all. So we're tossing that. I do confirm that Windows is doing sound fine with putting my what is this, Echo Mia sound card, but he doesn't get that one. He got this, and I do remember these. This is new old stock. I very much remember these. These were cheapy Sound Blaster knockoffs. Yeah, don't ever mess with a technician. We got shanks for days. Needless to say, we've got, come on, plastic. Inside we have, come on, box. The sound driver, little sound pamphlet, and the sound card itself. Let's put that up there. And basically we have a little, the main reason he wanted this card was, one, it was well within budget, two, it had the game port MIDI port on it. So now we install Yawn.
I should have known those alien maggots booby-trapped the sub.
So cheesy, so good. Oh, that's awesome. Right. So now it is time for the true tests. Oh yeah. Oh, I love that syndrome. There we go. There we go. I died. Well, that was great. I suck with doors. All right. There we go.
I have something for you. Stay with me.